Welcome everybody to ARG's Up Your Game educational series. We have a great topic and speaker this evening. I want to provide a little context about our series and what we hope to accomplish with these events. ARG supports the technology operations of over 2,000 companies here in the Washington, D.C. area, about 11% of the total businesses. We run over 200 meetings per month with technology leaders from those organizations. We also have deep relationships with over 60 technology providers and the ability to reach out to many more. In fact, it's not unusual for ARG to have 6 to 8 technology companies in our office on any given day. All this interaction with leaders, such as yourselves, and the service providers has created a unique sharing opportunity for ARG. We have identified many common themes and creative solutions through these interactions. Themes and solutions across disciplines and service providers. This educational series is our way of sharing some of these hot topics, learnings, and solutions. We hope you'll take these topics back to your organization in consultation with ARG and consider how together we can take your organization to a new level.
All right, well, thanks everybody for coming out today. We certainly appreciate you fighting the DC traffic, as we all know is unpleasant at best. So what we brought you out here today to experience, aside from obviously the Nationals game, which we're looking forward to, is to talk about SD-WAN, which we think will be a WAN transformational technology. We don't think it's a question of if you're going to use it, we think it's a question of when you're going to use it. So what we want to talk about today is some of the positioning and why you might use it one day. So the first topic to touch on there is relative to WANs and how we manage them today. As most of you in this room know, it's managing your network can be tough and can be tricky, especially with some of the legacy technologies that we've used in the past to do so. Everything from point-to-point to frame relay to MPLS typically involves like a hub and spoke type of design to bring all of your access back into like a corporate office and route all of your traffic that way. Well, with the advent of the cloud and applications moving to the cloud, it's becoming more and more difficult to get the end user performance and the end user latency and things like that that you're looking for in that type of a topology. So what we want to talk about is what are some of the things that are available to you now through SD-WAN that help you mitigate some of those challenges. So 77, what do you guys think that number represents? Anybody? Well, it's how much of your annual IT budget is going to keeping the blinky lights on, right? And you go in the server room and you look in there and you see all the green lights and you're like, we're good. So that's just maintaining the status quo. That's not innovation. That's not generating revenue for your company. That's not doing anything above and beyond what you're doing today. It's just keeping everything running. That is probably conservatively low in some cases, where essentially you don't even have a 30% budget to be able to create new initiatives or new projects or new revenue for the company. And that's kind of what CEOs and CSOs specifically are looking for nowadays. Transitioning right from that, this half, what do you think this number represents? That is how much of the workforce is going to be millennials before we blink and realize it. So with that amount of people being in the workforce, growing up in the age of the iPhone, which this demonstration is being recorded on, by the way, is, in my mind, it's kind of staggering because these folks are used to clicking on apps and it just works. Not traditional networking technologies that we've used in the past where you have environments that are generally statically controlled and routes that are predefined to get certain outcomes. Millennials are just used to everything just working. Like it just works in the magic of the cloud somewhere and I press on this app and I get what I want. And those are going to be the people who are in the workforce driving our businesses. So we need to mirror that environment for them in the workplace. And what do you think this 64% represents? Well, if you follow the logical train I'm trying to take us on here, it's the amount of customers who are, and folks just like yourselves, who are either already in the process of developing SD-WAN, which will get you to that millennial-friendly type of application-based environment, or are looking to accelerate that process. So that's a large percentage of the marketplace that's kind of looking at this technology to move forward. So let's just talk generally about what it is. And I won't dig into the weeds on this, because really what we want this to be is more of a just a high-level information about what it will drive for you. But basically what it does is it gives you the ability to use whatever the best-of-breed internet that you can get at a given location and overlay SD-WAN to create a private network, so it's secure just like MPLS. It's cost-effective because you don't have to necessarily bring everything back to one provider. You can have internet from Comcast or Time Warner or Light Tower or whoever, or Windstream, and you can pull all of those together into one network, so you get the basically maximum cost efficiency per location, and it's managed and optimized. So specifically with Windstream's offer, we offer Concierge, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but you have the ability to manage all of your applications through a single pane of glass, which I dare say 95% plus of businesses don't have today in operation. So what are some ideal scenarios? Mission critical applications. SD-WAN is all about application visibility and control. It's changing the paradigm from managing your network to managing your applications. So any application that you have that is mission critical, this is a perfect technology to deploy in an environment where you have mission critical applications that may be competing for the same bandwidth. Any environment where you've got voice over IP running over multiple locations. This will give you the ability to set up an environment where you can have a catastrophic outage at a given location and not even lose your voice calls. They just fail over to the other medium, and the system manages it automatically. And then obviously high bandwidth and cost-effective solutions that we just touched on. Being able to get that best-of-breed bandwidth at any location. Some ideal verticals include healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, retail, anything that's broadly distributed geographically. What I like to say is the more locations with less people at a given location, but still having complex IT needs, like in retail for PCI compliance, healthcare for HIPAA compliance, manufacturing for generally in-house custom applications that run over a network that are latency sensitive. All of those tend to be very good applications for an SD-WAN solution. The Concierge is what I mentioned a little bit earlier. What this does is it takes all of the functionality that we've been talking about in the application management and visibility and control, and it gives you a dedicated person assigned with your account through Windstream to be able to manage that environment for you. So you don't have to take an overburdened IT staff and layer this task on top of all the other stuff that they have to do, because we already talked about 77% of their time they're spending just keeping everything running, right? Because you have part failures, you have software upgrades, you have all this stuff that has to happen. Adding this to them just overburdens them even more and takes that number upward. What we want to do is help take that number downward so that you can, number one, be able to triage your help desk more effectively when users call in and have specific issues that they're dealing with. The Concierge can help you identify very quickly what the application is, what the user device is, and drill down on that and help you rectify the situation much quicker than in a traditional environment where you're trying to identify, is it even the bandwidth? Is it a user error? Is it the device freezing up? Utilizing this technology, you'll be able to identify that extremely quickly. So we're just going to talk through really quickly some of the slides of what it would look like in the portal itself. And then I'll end on some resources that you can use that will help you to get more of a flavor and more of a feel for exactly what the technology can do for you, including a customer testimonial, which I think is pretty powerful. So this gives you just a snapshot of what the portal itself looks like. And across the top, it may be difficult to see here, but across the top you see an overview. This is like the landing page. It's going to give you what my connections are. And in this case, you see Verizon Wireless and Charter Communications. And it shows you what, if you go across from the left to right, it's going to give you what the status is. The VPN status indication there is telling you that it's connected to the Cloud Core Gateway. So it's in communication with the brain, if you will. It's telling you what type of connection it is, that they're both internet connections. And it gives you the throughput up and down, what your bandwidth and throughput are. Also, it's going to show you what your top applications are running across the network, what categories those applications are, and your top operating systems and sources and destinations and that sort of thing. In the quality of experience, this is the tab that will show you the conditioning that happens on your aggregate links. So you're able to connect with Windstream up to 4 different links into 4 different access circuits into the box. And then at the top, it gives you a conditioning up here where the VeloCloud enhancement is up at the top. It gives you what the network conditioning is for those links to give you what's called a quality of experience score or VeloCloud quality score. What that is basically it's taking into account the aggregate of all that bandwidth and kind of looking at it as essentially one link, and the jitter buffering and forward path correction and some of the things that is native within the SD-WAN software to account for either bounces in a cable modem or intermittent issues across a T1 or potentially high latency or packet loss over a wireless connection, for example. So in this example, it's showing you what that conditioning looks like for voice, so UDP traffic, and it's bearing in mind what the parameters are, so 150 milliseconds of round trip latency and et cetera, and packet loss percentages for voice traffic. So you're able to look at that for voice, for video, and for transactional data. The transport gets into, okay, these are my links. Now what bandwidth is actually running across those links over a period of time? In the top left-hand corner, you can see the past 12 hours, but this will give you historical information going back 12 months. So think about that. If you've got Comcast cable modems at 5 locations and Time Warner cable modems at 4 locations, and you've got Windstream Ethernet at 6 locations, and Zayo and Light Tower and a bunch of other providers. In order to get this kind of data, you would have to get traffic monitoring statistics from each of those providers, if they even will give it to you. Like Comcast on a cable modem isn't going to give you that information. And it's on demand for a specific window of time. Or you can invest a bunch of money in a product that will give you that kind of information, like a SolarWinds or something like that. This product inherently gives you that information, and it's stored for 12 months. So at any given point in time, you can drill down and see, are your carriers meeting their SLAs and the bandwidth that I'm supposed to be paying for? It says I'm getting 100 down and 20 up on my cable modem. Am I really getting that? Or am I really getting less than that? If you drill into applications, it'll give you all the applications that are running across your network, what bandwidth they're consuming, and this is very, very useful. You can drill down into this to get very specific down to the user level to see who's maybe abusing the network versus who's using the business critical applications that are generating money for your company. But you'll be able to see very quickly what the traffic looks like on your network from an application perspective. And you're able to, through business priorities, set policies for whether that's a high priority, normal, or low priority traffic, and then also set policies in terms of how you want those applications to either fail over between network segments, how you want them to be throttled, Like for example, you want maybe a store location if you're a retail operation to be able to stream Pandora because you play it in the store over the overhead, but you don't ever want it to consume more than 10% of your bandwidth because you don't want it to block credit card transactions or CRM or inventory software applications. So you're able to set all of those policies on an application by application basis in the portal. Having said that, there's 3 great resources here that you can use to drill down into that information. The SD-WAN demo up here at the top will give you a walkthrough, a live walkthrough of the portal and a couple of use cases that will show. It's only about 2 minutes. The Dunn Edwards Paint testimonial video is also only about 2 minutes, and this is from the IT director with Dunn Edwards Paints talking about his journey going from exactly what this slideshow went through, a traditional WAN environment into an SD-WAN environment and the benefits that they glean from that transition. And then the third one is a little bit more technical. It's actually a tech day demo with VeloCloud for some of their largest enterprise customers that they work with directly. It's about 7 minutes long, but if you want to geek out on it, watch that video, and I think you'll meet your geek quota. So I know that was a lot. Thank you guys for your attention. I really appreciate it. Hopefully the game is more interesting than this was and more exciting. But in all seriousness, if you have any questions, please reach out. We'll be here to assist.
That was good.